Hey guys, welcome to the Max Invest YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing a weekly cryptocurrency update. Now, we've been looking at a lot of the news in the past week and a lot of the prices. So, in this weekly cryptocurrency update, I want to take a look at a few brief bits of news and then a couple of new coins that we haven't looked at too much on the channel. Of course, we will still look at Chainlink and Ethereum, as we do love to keep track of these coins on a relatively regular basis. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, remember to like and subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, and remember, nothing in this video is financial advice. So, the first thing that I did want to discuss is a post from Chainlink God. Essentially, Chainlink God did a Medium post for a definitive Chainlink education resource. As we can see, if we go on to this resource, there's tons of different things about Chainlink. There's a deep dive into what Chainlink actually is, stuff about Chainlink's economics, its network design, and a lot of Chainlink's different services. It also has Chainlink's use cases, and there's everything that you actually want here. So if you're confused on any part of Chainlink, such as perhaps you don't quite understand what a node operator is, or perhaps you don't quite understand hybrid smart contracts, well, this is the place for you to go. This will essentially help you fill in any holes that you have in your knowledge about Chainlink, and I really did like this. I've already looked through a couple of these articles and they are very, very good and very, very useful. I'll probably continue to look through a few of these. This is quite a good resource, and I will leave it in the description down below. The next thing that I wanted to discuss in the past week is there was a pretty good podcast that came out. As we can see, Dave Lee on Investing did a podcast with the people from Bankless. So this is with Ryan and David from Bankless, who own a very successful YouTube channel that's all based around Ethereum and Ethereum content. Now, I really, really did like this podcast. Essentially, it really outlined the Ethereum bull case and why Ethereum is going to actually succeed in the long term. They also gave me a few different ways of thinking about things. Essentially, one of the big ways of actually thinking about and viewing Ethereum is by looking at it as the settlement layer. Essentially, Ethereum is going to be the final settlement layer for every transaction that actually occurs. So if there's any transaction anywhere, such as sending money to someone else, buying something from a video game, buying something from Amazon, all of these transactions are essentially going to be settled on Ethereum in the long term. Also, if you're using Solana and you use a DeFi application on Solana, eventually this will probably be settled on Ethereum. And the reason for this is because I do believe in a world where everything is going to be a roll up. We're going to see all of the computation happen off chain, and it will all be settled on the immutable base layer that is Ethereum. There will be a world in the future where we have Ethereum as the biggest settlement layer, the biggest layer one in the world, where everything is just settling to it. Of course, the layer 1 isn't going to be what users use. Right now, people are using the layer 1, but this is going to move away onto layer 2s and onto other applications. Of course, if you're using something centralized in the future, this thing that is centralized will probably be using Ethereum in the background, and it makes out a really, really big bull case for ETH. It's going to be the infrastructure behind everything, which is absolutely great to see, and I really do believe that this will be the case. Of course, for something to be a very good settlement layer, it needs a few different things. It needs to have high fee revenue so it can actually pay out validators in order to secure itself. It needs to have decentralization, so there needs to be a lot of different validators and a lot of different nodes securing it. And it really needs to have a big community behind it, and Ethereum does have all of these things. So, in my opinion, this is the best settlement layer possible. Of course, it also needs to have smart contracts, as you need smart contracts to verify proofs for rollups to actually work. This is why something like Bitcoin wouldn't work as a settlement layer. So those were all of the things that I wanted to discuss in the past week. There wasn't too many big bits of news that I haven't already covered in my previous videos. So the next thing I do want to take a look at is the prices. Now, I did want to briefly take a look at the price of Bitcoin, as I don't look at it too often because I don't hold any Bitcoin myself. However, it is good to see what is happening in Bitcoin, because in crypto land, Bitcoin is such a big asset, and when Bitcoin goes down, the other cryptos tend to come down as well with it. Of course, I'm hoping when the market matures a little bit, Ethereum and some of the other cryptos will decorrelate. However, it doesn't look like this is happening just yet. Of course, this is the same in the traditional stock market, where if we see Apple and some of the big tech stocks go down, well, the whole market gets pulled down together. Now, as we can see, Bitcoin is going relatively well. It's just sitting up at around its all time high. Now, in my opinion, it doesn't really look like Bitcoin has cleanly broken its all time high just yet. It's still hanging right around its old all time high and finding a lot of resistance there. Of course, if we want Bitcoin to really start coming up and the rest of the crypto market to be pushing up, we do need to see some bigger candles and some bigger closes above the all time high. It will be interesting to see if Bitcoin can actually manage this. However, we will need to wait and see. So, the next crypto that I did briefly want to take a look at is Ethereum. And Ethereum does look like it's broken its all time high a little bit better than Bitcoin. And if we look at the weekly candles, it does seem to keep going up. Of course, this week has been a little bit of a slow week, however, we will need to see what happens. Now, it is quite interesting to look at what's going on with Ethereum right now because we don't have that much volume, so there's not too many people buying. However, it's slowly pushing up. Of course, this actually can be a bad sign and it can make for a bit of a dump back down because we generally do need some volume to actually break up. This is why I'm not too convinced just yet, and there's a potential chance that we come back down, retest the bull market support band in the 3000s, and then roll back up. However, we will need to wait and see what happens with Ethereum. Right now, it's not looking too bad. It is quite interesting. We just need a little bit more excitement. Now, Link is another coin that I want to look at, and it has been teasing us a bit this week. It has been quite annoying. Essentially, Chainlink keeps doing these big pumps back up, but the second a single crypto dumps, Chainlink drops even harder. So it tells me that it's not quite yet Chainlink's time to run. Chainlink isn't looking that bullish relative to the rest of the market, and we may need to be more patient. Now, the thing with Chainlink is that essentially, when it really starts to pump, it really does start to pump. And in the short term, this is based off narratives. In the long term, Chainlink should continue to go up and trend upwards with time. However, we will need to wait for a narrative change in the short term. You do need traders to get on top of things to actually push them up a significant amount, and it will be interesting to see if this will actually happen. Now, one of the new coins that I did want to take a look at is the Graph. So, the Graph is a token that I've recently been adding to my portfolio as one of my longer term holds. Right now, my portfolio only really has Ethereum and Chainlink in it for the longer term. However, I am actually looking at making the Graph a third position because it does look really, really cool. I'm going to do a fundamental analysis video on the Graph tomorrow, and then the day after, I'm probably going to do a video explaining all of the technical details of the Graph and how it actually works, because I really do like this crypto. Now, one of the good things about the Graph is it's seen to have a very, very heavy inflation schedule all the way back here over in February. However, the Graph is actually approaching its hard cap limit. The Graph only has 10 billion coins that can circulate, and there's currently around 5 billion circulating, so it can't be inflated too much just yet. Now, as we can see, I do think this is probably one of the best times to get into the Graph for myself. Obviously, this isn't investment advice, and I would suggest watching tomorrow's video on what it actually is and doing a bit more research for yourself. However, we can see there is a double bottom here. It does look like it's finally getting geared up. Now, if you don't know what the Graph is, all it is it's a data indexing protocol, and this is actually quite similar to Google. What it does is it gets on-chain data and it puts it in a very easy to understand manner, and it allows a lot of different protocols to use this data. So things like Uniswap are actually using this data for themselves. Now, whenever someone views this data, a fee is paid. So the Graph does about 500 million queries every day, and every single query has a fee paid. Of course, the fees paid would be unbelievably small, maybe 1/1000th of a cent, but it starts to stack up when you get heaps and heaps of query fees being paid. So every time someone goes onto Uniswap, they see Uniswap's data, it is a query fee to the graph, and this adds a lot of fundamental value over the long term. Of course, a common misconception that I do see about the graph is a lot of people think it's competing with Chainlink. However, this isn't the case. The graph specializes in on-chain data, whereas Chainlink specializes in off-chain data. So they are very, very different. And the graph can even collate and index Chainlink's off-chain data to actually help out Chainlink. So it's a very cool protocol. It's one of the infrastructure behind a lot of these cryptos, and I am liking the look of it. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching the video. We are going for 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. This is 160 subscribers in the next month and a half, which would be nearly a record for me, and I would be very grateful if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.